The wind howled like a banshee outside our third-floor walk-up in Wrigleyville, Chicago, turning the night into a frozen hell that even the Cubs diehards wouldn't brave. I slammed the door on the storm, shaking snow from my beanie, only to find Matthew already 3 beers deep on our sagging couch, his Packers jersey stained with what looked like yesterday's chili. "Nick," he slurred, eyes glassy but locking onto mine with that intensity that always made my stomach flip. "You ever wonder if we're just fucking up our lives on purpose?" I froze, heart pounding harder than the sleet against the glass. Because in that split second, with the power flickering and the room smelling like wet wool and regret, I knew this was the night everything shattered. We'd been roommates for 2 years, me, Nicholas Hale, the quiet graphic designer scraping by on freelance gigs and unrequited crushes. Him, Matthew Matt Riley, the golden boy ex-linebacker from some podunk Wisconsin town, crashing on my couch after his latest breakup because rent in the city was a bitch and bros looked out for bros. He was straight as an arrow, or so he swore, chasing skirts at the bars on Clark Street while I nursed my secret, sketching his profile in the margins of my sketchpad when he passed out after games. But winter in Chicago has a way of stripping you bare, and that night, with the heat out and the pipes groaning like they were about to burst, we were 2 idiots huddled under every blanket we owned, passing a fifth of Jack Daniels back and forth like it was communion wine. "Cold as balls," Matt grumbled, his breath warm against my neck as he scooted closer, our thighs pressing together under the fleece. I laughed it off, but my pulse raced. God, the way his stubble grazed my shoulder when he shifted, the low rumble of his laugh vibrating through me. We joked about it before, in that dumbass straight guy way. "Dude, if I was gay, you'd be my type," but jokes have a shelf life, and ours was expiring fast. The TV sputtered to life mid-commercial, some infomercial for a miracle mop, but neither of us moved to fix it. Outside, the blizzard buried the city under feet of white, canceling flights and closing the L, trapping us in this bubble of bad decisions. Matt took a swig, winced, then handed it over. "Remember that time in college? Spring break in Cancun. I hooked up with that sorority girl. What was her name? And puked on her flip-flops." He chuckled, but there was an edge to it, like he was testing waters he didn't know how to swim. I nodded, forcing a grin. "Yeah, and I was the one holding your hair back. You lightweight." His eyes met mine then, really met them, not the buddy-buddy glance but something deeper, hungrier. The room felt smaller, the air thicker, charged like the static before lightning. "Nick," he said, voice dropping low, "you're the only one who's ever really had my back. Not my exes, not my folks back home who think I'm still gonna marry some nice Catholic girl and pop out a brood." He paused, swallowing hard, and I swear I saw his Adam's apple bob like he was fighting a war inside. My mouth went dry. This was Matt, big, brash Matt, who bench-pressed twice my weight and flirted with every bartender from here to Milwaukee, talking like he was cracking open. I set the bottle down, my hand brushing his, and electricity shot up my arm. "Hey, man, that's what friends do." But my voice cracked, betraying me, and he noticed. His fingers lingered, calloused from years of gripping footballs and tools at his day job on construction sites. The power dipped again, plunging us into shadow, and when it surged back, his face was inches from mine, blue eyes stormy as Lake Michigan in a gale. "What if? What if it's more than that?" he whispered, and before I could process, his lips crashed into mine, rough, tentative, tasting of whiskey and want. It was like the world tilted, Kissed back, hard, my hands fisting in his jersey, pulling him closer as the blankets tangled around us. He groaned, a sound I'd fantasized about in the shower, low and primal, his body pressing me into the cushions. Clothes came off in a frenzy. His shirt yanked over his head, revealing the tattoo of a roaring bear across his pecs. My hoodie tossed aside, exposing the lean lines I'd hidden under layers. We were a mess of limbs and heat, his hands exploring like he was mapping uncharted territory. Hesitant at first, then bold, fingers tracing my ribs, my hips, dipping lower. Fuck, Nick, he breathed against my neck. This feels right. The storm raged on, but inside, it was fire. We moved to the bedroom, stumbling over his work boots, collapsing onto my unmade bed where the sheets smelled like him from the laundry we'd shared. He was everywhere, kissing my collarbone, my thighs, learning me with a reverence that broke my heart even as it mended it. When he finally pushed inside, slow and shaking, it wasn't just sex, it was surrender. His forehead pressed to mine, breaths mingling. "Don't hate me tomorrow," he murmured, and I whispered back, "Never." Dawn crept in gray and guilty, the snowplows rumbling like Judgment Day. Matt woke first, staring at the ceiling with my arms slung over his chest. He didn't bolt, but the tension in his shoulders said enough. "Last night," he started, voice hoarse. I propped up on an elbow, tracing the freckles across his nose. "Was good." "Yeah." He nodded, slow, then pulled me in for a kiss that tasted like morning coffee and second thoughts. But as we dressed, throwing on layers against the chill, his phone buzzed, his mom, probably, with her weekly check-in from Green Bay. He silenced it, but the shadow lingered. We ventured out that afternoon, digging out the car for a grocery run, the city a ghost town under the drifts. At the corner store, slushy and overpriced, he grabbed my hand under the counter when the clerk turned away, a small rebellion, but it lit me up. Back home, we cooked spaghetti from a box, laughing over burnt garlic bread, but his laughs came forced now, eyes darting to the window like he expected the world to crash in. That night, we tried again, slower, sweeter, his head on my chest after, listening to my heartbeat like it held answers. By week's end, the thaw hit, and so did reality. Matt's construction crew called him back. Overtime on a high-rise downtown, and he dove in, coming home late, smelling of sawdust and silence. I'd sketch while waiting, capturing the curve of his jaw in repose, but the distance grew. One evening, over takeout lo mein, he finally cracked, "Nick, I think I'm bi. We're gay." "Shit, I don't know. But it's you. It's always been you. I just didn't see it." My chest swelled, tears pricking, and we made love on the kitchen floor. Cold tiles be nothing against our heat. But Chicago winters don't end clean. They linger, biting when you least expect. And Matt's past? It was a freight train barreling down, loaded with small-town expectations and a best friend from high school who showed up unannounced one Friday, pounding on the door with a six-pack and stories of glory days. Jake, tall, tattooed, the kind of guy who made straight dudes question their aim. "Riley, where the hell you been, man? Hiding from pussy in this dump." Matt laughed it off, clapping him on the back. But I saw the flicker, the old life calling. That night, with Jake crashing on the couch, Matt slept beside me, but his hand didn't seek mine. The betrayal wasn't blatant yet, just a whisper. The way he pulled away when Jake joked about turning frosty in the big city. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan's lazy spin, wondering if one night could rewrite a lifetime, or if it was just a beautiful lie we'd tell ourselves until spring. Spring teased Chicago with crocuses poking through the slush, but inside our apartment, the frost was thicker than ever. Jake overstayed his welcome by a week, crashing just one more night until Matt caved, the bro code unbreakable. I'd come home from a client meeting, some ad agency bullshit for a craft beer label, to find them sprawled on the couch, beers in hand, yelling at a Blackhawks game. "Nick, get in here." Dude's telling war stories from '09. Matt called, his grin wide but eyes avoiding mine. Jake sized me up, all smirks and suspicion. "So you're the artsy roommate keeping this slob alive? Respect." I forced a laugh, grabbing a beer from the fridge, but the air hummed with unspoken shit. That night, after Jake passed out snoring like a chainsaw, Matt slipped into bed, whispering apologies against my ear. "He's just old news. Means nothing." We fucked quietly, him biting my shoulder to muffle moans, but it felt like penance, not passion. Come morning, Jake was gone, back to Wisconsin with a slap on Matt's back and a promise to hit the bars next time he was in town. Relief washed over me, but the crack was there, hairline but deep. Matt threw himself into work, pulling doubles on the site, coming home with blisters and bravado. "Boss says I'm up for foreman if I keep this up," he'd say, flexing his arms at the mirror, and I'd trace the veins with my tongue, pulling him down until the world narrowed to us. Our rhythm solidified, mornings tangled in sheets, coffee black and shared from the same mug, evenings with my head in his lap while he scrolled job listings for something steadier. He started opening up, halting confessions over late-night drives along Lake Shore. The pressure from his dad, a retired cop who equated manhood with marriage and mortgages. The high school hookups that left him hollow. The way he'd catch himself staring at guys in the locker room and chalk it up to locker room shit. "You're brave as hell," I told him one night, under the stars at Montrose Point, the lake lapping like it approved. He snorted, but his hand squeezed mine. "Nah, you're the one who knew all along." I was just blind. We kissed there, salty wind whipping our faces, and for a moment, it felt invincible, like we'd cracked the code to happiness in a city that chewed up dreams and spat out survivors. But betrayal doesn't announce itself. It seeps in, disguised as normalcy. It started with Matt's phone, buzzing at odd hours, texts from crew guy that he'd swipe away too quick. I didn't pry. Trust was our foundation, or so I thought. Then came the lie, a late shift that stretched to midnight, him stumbling in reeking of dive bar smoke. Not sight dust. "Traffic," he mumbled, avoiding my eyes as he stripped for the shower. I nodded, swallowing the knot in my throat, but sleep evaded me, sketches turning dark, jagged lines of doubt. The high-rise project wrapped, and Matt got the promotion, foreman pay bumping our rent leeway. We celebrated at the Hideout, a gritty blues joint in Ukrainian village, where the air was thick with cigarette ghosts and trombone wails. He danced with me in the shadows, hands on my hips like we owned the night, whispering filthy promises that had me dragging him to the alley for a quick, desperate grind against brick. "Love you, Nick," he said later, sober and soft in the cab ride home. My heart stuttered. First time he'd said it, and I echoed it back, meaning every syllable. Summer hit like a fever, humidity turning the apartment into a sauna. We escaped to the suburbs for a weekend at his folks'. His idea, a test run. The Rylus split level in Elmhurst screamed Midwest normal. Manicured lawn, Virgin Mary statue in the yard, fridge stocked with Laneys and brats. His mom, Karen, hugged me like a long-lost son, chattering about my talents while Dad grilled, gruff but approving, "Art, huh? Better than slingin' hammers like this knucklehead." Matt beamed, squeezing my knee under the picnic table, but dinner cracked the facade. His sister piping up about her engagement, Dad toasting to family legacies, eyes on Matt like a challenge. That night, in his boyhood room with posters of Brett Favre peeling at the edges, he broke down. "They'll never get it," he sobbed into my chest, body shaking. "I'm their straight-A son, the one who didn't fuck up like my brother in the joint." I held him, stroking his hair, promising we'd figure it out, maybe come out slow, or not at all if it hurt too much. We made love quietly, the bed creaking like a guilty secret, his release a choked whisper of my name. Back in the city, the glow faded fast. Matt dove into overtime again, vanishing for networking drinks with the crew. One night, I tailed him, pathetic, I know, to a sports bar on Division, heart sinking as I spotted him in a booth with Jake and a couple roughnecks, shots lined up like soldiers. Laughter boomed, arms slung around shoulders, and when Jake leaned in close, Matt didn't pull away. I fled before they saw, while rising, the walk home a blur of neon and nausea. Confrontation brewed like a storm front. The next morning, over burnt toast, I laid it out, "Saw you with Jake." "What's the play here?" Matt, testing the straight waters again, his face drained of color, fork clattering. "It wasn't." "Shit, Nick, it was nothing." "Beers, bullshit." "Jake's just Jake." But his eyes darted, guilty as a kid caught swiping cookies. "You don't trust me?" I laughed, bitter. "Trust? After you ghost for hours, come home half-wasted? What am I supposed to think?" He slammed a hand on the table, chair scraping back. "I'm trying. Okay, this isn't easy. Figuring out who the fuck I am while the world's screaming I'm not." Tears welled, but anger edged his voice. "You think it's all rainbows for you? Try being the guy who blew up his whole life for one goddamn night." The words landed like punches, each one cracking our fragile peace. I stood, chest heaving. That night was everything. "But if you're still chasing shadows, maybe it wasn't for you." He stormed out, door slamming like a gunshot, leaving me in the wreckage, sketches scattered, coffee cold. Days blurred into radio silence, texts unread, my world shrinking to freelance deadlines and empty evenings at the bar down the block. Pride Month banners fluttered on Addison, mocking me with their glitter, while I nursed IPAs and what-ifs. Then, the betrayal detonated. A mutual friend, buzzed at a gallery opening, let slip he'd seen Matt at Circuit, Chicago's pulsing gay club, grinding with some twink half his age, Jake's arm around his waist like a claim. I drove there that night, the club a throbbing beast of lights and bass, body slick with sweat. Matt was in the thick of it, shirtless, lost in the rhythm, but when our eyes locked across the floor, his face crumpled. He pushed through the crowd, grabbing my arm. "Nick, wait." But I wrenched free, the hurt a roar louder than the music. "You're full of shit," I yelled over the din. "One winter night? Bull. You're just a tourist in my world." He reached for me, desperate, but security loomed, and I bolted into the humid night, tears mixing with the drizzle. The apartment felt like a tomb when I returned, his duffel half-packed on the bed. I'm sorry, he said, voice breaking as I burst in. Jake. It was stupid. A relapse. I got scared. Pride shit everywhere. Folks asking questions. Thought if I dipped back, it'd make me straight again. His eyes pleaded, red-rimmed. But I can't. Not without you. I wanted to believe him, to bridge the chasm with a kiss. But the wound festered. You broke us, Matt. For what? To feel normal for 5 minutes. We circled each other that night. Words weapons. His defenses crumbling into sobs. My anger fracturing into grief. Dawn found us entwined anyway. Bodies seeking solace, words denied. But the trust? Shattered glass. Sharp and irreparable. As summer peaked, heat waves warping the skyline, we teetered on the edge. Love a lifeline. Betrayal the anchor dragging us under. Fall painted Chicago in fire. Leaves scorching red along the lakefront. Air crisp with the promise of change. But for us, autumn was reckoning. A slow burn toward explosion. Matt tried. God, he tried. Flowers swiped from a corner bodega. Left on the counter with scribbled notes. You're my anchor. Date nights at the Art Institute. His hand tentative in mine amid the Monets. Whispering how my sketches made him see himself anew. I'd melt. Forgive in the heat of the moment. But the scar tissue pulled tight come morning. Doubts whispering like wind through the L tracks. Work became our escape, me landing a gig illustrating a queer graphic novel. Pages alive with fluid lines and hidden longings. Him pushing for that promotion. Barking orders on scaffolds high above the loop. Chasing the American dream one rivet at a time. Evenings. We'd cook, him chopping onions with brute force. Me stirring sauces with precision. Talk turning to futures. A bigger place in Logan Square. Maybe adopting a mutt from the shelter. Normal shit, he'd say. Grinning that lopsided grin. But ours. Yet the ghost of Jake haunted. Texts popping up on Matt's screen like landmines. Missin' the crew, bro. Road trip. He'd delete them. Show me the proof. But paranoia rooted deep. One October night, during a Cubs playoff watch party at our place. Neighbors crammed in, cheers shaking the walls, his phone lit up in the kitchen. I glanced, casual as sin. Can't wait to see you sweat again. Jay, sweat. The word twisted like a knife, conjuring visions of locker rooms, post-game highs I'd never shared. I confronted him in the bathroom, door locked against the roar. What's sweat mean? Matt, code for fucking around. His face flushed. Not denial but shame. It's nothing, gym sesh last week. Blew off steam. Steam. Another euphemism. Another lie by omission. With Jake? Alone? He nodded. Reluctant. And the room spun. Just hoops. Nick. Swear. But his eyes, those damn eyes, betrayed the half-truth. The flirt in the follow-through. I shoved past. Joining the party like a zombie. Laughter hollow as I nursed a solo cup. The fight erupted post-game. Guests gone. Tension coiling like the Dan Ryan at rush hour. You're suffocating me, he exploded, pacing the living room, fists clenched. Every look, every question. It's like I'm on trial for being human. I fired back, voice cracking. Human? Betraying the one guy who saw you. Really saw you? That's your humanity. He stopped, deflating, sinking to the floor against the wall. I fucked up. Again. But I love you. More than I knew how to handle. We didn't speak for days. Coexisting in icy civility, him on the couch. Me in bed. The apartment a battlefield of unspoken barbs. Then, the call came, his dad. Heart attack. Mild but a wake-up. Come home, son, Karen pleaded over speaker. Matt looked at me. Lost puppy eyes. Will you? I nodded, packing a bag despite the rage. Because love's a stubborn bastard. The drive to Elmhurst was a funeral procession. Golden hour gilding the tollway in false warmth. At the hospital, sterile and beeping, Jim Riley lay pale but pugnacious, griping about Jell-O. Who's the pretty boy? He grunted at me, and Matt tensed. Nick's my partner, roommate, best friend. The word hung, a dodge, but Karen's eyes softened, squeezing my hand. He's family now. We stayed the week, nursing Jim through recovery. Matt torn between worlds, chopping wood in the backyard like old times, then stealing kisses in the guest room. Our bodies a refuge. On the way back, windshield wipers batting rain. He cracked fully. Dad asked if I was settling down. Almost told him about us, the real us. My throat tightened. What stopped you? He glanced over, hands white on the wheel. Fear. Of losing him. Of everything. Honesty, raw and ragged, bridged something, and by the time we hit the city lights, his hand was in mine, promise in the grip. Winter loomed, first snow dusting the fire escapes, and with it, the holidays a minefield of family pulls. I opted for my mom's in Evanston, a liberal haven of menorah candles and dad jokes. Matt braved Wisconsin solo, promising calls. But radio silence stretched 2 days, then 3. Panic gnawed, visions of turkey dinners turning to interrogations. On Christmas Eve, my phone buzzed. Not him, but Jake. Drunk dial blurry pic of Matt passed out on a plaid couch. Arm slung around some cousin's waist. Caption, Riley's lit AF. Miss ya, bud. Betrayal. Round 3. Hit like eggnog gone sour. I drove through the night. Slushy streets to his place, no. Our place, banging on the door at 2 a.m. He answered, bleary-eyed in boxers, confusion melting to guilt. Nick? What the? I thrust the phone at him, the photo damning. Explain this. Or don't. I'm done chasing your chaos. His face crumpled, pulling me inside, the apartment drafty and dim with a dying tree in the corner. It was nothing family shit, too much scotch. Jake's just stirring drama, but the pic lied louder than words, that casual intimacy a slap. We argued in whispers, lest neighbors hear, his pleas tumbling. I'm yours, Nick. This town's poison pulls me back. Dawn broke, gray and unforgiving, finding us on the floor, his head in my lap, tears soaking my jeans. I need help, he admitted, voice small. Therapy, maybe. Figure this out before I lose you for good. We booked a counselor that week, a no-nonsense queer therapist in Boys Town, office walls lined with rainbow flags and success stories. Sessions were brutal. Matt unpacking his internalized crap, the toxic masculinity Dad drilled in, me venting the hurt, the loneliness of loving someone half in. You're not broken, she told him gently. Just unfolding, and slowly, painfully, he did, coming out to his sister over FaceTime. Her hug virtual but real, deleting Jake's number with me watching, a ritual burning. New Year's Eve, we rang in on a rooftop in Wicker Park. City sprawled like a glittering apology below. Fireworks bloomed, his arms around me from behind, chin on my shoulder. This year, no more running, he vowed, lips brushing my ear. I turned, kissing him deep, tasting champagne and hope. But climax brews in calm. And ours? It was the call from his crew chief. Mid-January, a job offer in Milwaukee, double pay, family business vibe. It's a fresh start, he said, eyes alight. For us, temptation tugged, space from the city's grind, a chance to build without ghosts. But betrayal's echo warned. Was this escape or exile? We waited over diner pancakes, syrup sticky as decisions. I'm in, I said finally, but no secrets. We face it together. He grinned, sealing it with a kiss that tasted like maple and maybe. Packing commenced. Boxes labeled in my scrawl, kitchen ghosts, bedroom promises. But as movers hauled shit out, Jake appeared, uninvited, leaning on his truck, smirk sharp as ever. Heard you're bailing, Riley. Smart. City's too faggy for you anyway. Matt stiffened, me beside him like a shield. Fuck off, Jake. We're done. But Jake's laugh cut deep. Done? Tell that to the nights you cried on my shoulder about confusing feelings. Nick's just your phase. Bro. The words detonated, Matt's fist connecting with Jake's jaw in a crack that echoed off brick. Blood sprayed, Jake reeling, but security swarmed, badges flashing. Cops came, statements taken, assault charge pending, Matt's record clean but now tainted. In the squad car, cuffs cold on his wrists, he looked at me through the window, broken. I couldn't let him. Not anymore. I followed to the station, bailing him out with savings I'd hoarded for art supplies, the ride home silent as fresh snow. Milwaukee greeted us with a brutal February gale. Off Lake Michigan's icy maw, the kind that seeps into bones and doubts alike. We crashed in a sublet, a shoebox in Bayview, all exposed brick and creaky floors, while hunting for a place that screamed us. Matt started at the site Monday, hard hat low, but the assault hung like a storm cloud. Court date in Chicago looming, Jake pressing charges for gay panic payback. His texts venomous. See you in hell, traitor. Nights were our sanctuary, huddled under quilts, my fingers tracing the fresh bruise on his knuckles. Worth it, I murmured, kissing the scab. He nodded, fierce, every drop. For you. For me. We explored the city slow, Pier, Wisconsin's frozen paths, hands gloved but laced. Third Ward galleries where I'd sketch tourists, him posing goofy behind me. Therapy continued via Zoom, her voice a lifeline. Boundaries, boys. Build em brick by brick. Spring thawed the harbors. Cherry blossoms dusting Walker's Point like confetti for our rebirth. Matt settled into foreman life, barking orders with newfound command, coming home sun-kissed and solid. Boss loves me, he'd boast, scooping me up against the fridge, kisses hungry as adolescence. I freelanced from coffee shops, the queer novel gig blooming into a portfolio that caught an agent's eye. Life mimicked normalcy, brunch at Comet, mimosas fizzy, Packers tailgates where he'd introduce me as my guy, cheers drowning any side-eye. But conflict festers in fertile soil, and ours sprouted from roots we thought severed. A month in, Matt's phone buzzed during dinner. Dad. Voice gruff over speaker. Heard you punched that high school punk. Good on ya. But what's this about some court thing? And who's this Nick fella really? Matt froze, fork midway to mouth. I squeezed his thigh under the table. Steady. He's my partner, Dad. We're together. Silence stretched. Then a harumph. Well, long as you're happy. But don't expect me at no parade. Click. Matt exhaled. Shaky laugh. Progress. Not quite. The court date pulled us back to Chicago. Mid-May. Dogwoods blooming, mocking our tension. Jake's lawyer spun it theatrical. Homophobic rage. Cue the waterworks. But Matt's testimony gutted. He poisoned what I was building. Called my love a phase. I snapped. For the man who saved me. The judge. A silver-haired woman with a no bullshit squint. Saw through probation. Anger management. A fine that stung but not fatal. Outside. Rain sheeting the courthouse steps. Jake sneered past. You'll always be straight to me. Riley. Matt's jaw ticked. But he turned away. Arm around me. Nah. I'm Nix. Relief fueled a road trip. Up to Door County. Orchards pink with blooms. Where we rented a cabin on the bay. Days blurred. Kayaking emerald waters. Him shirtless and laughing as waves splashed. Nights by the fire. Stories spilling, his first crush on the quarterback. Buried deep. My coming out at 16. Mom's hug fiercer than Dad's silence. One evening. Sunset bleeding orange across the horizon. He dropped to one knee on the dock. Ring box nicked from a pawn shop glinting. Marry me, Nick. Make this chaos ours forever. Tears blurred. I yanked him up. Yes, a kiss that tasted of salt and forever. Summer sizzled. Wedding plans a whirlwind, small. Courthouse quickie with a reception at our old Chicago haunt. Invite sparse but heartfelt. His sister flew in. Teary and toasting. My folks beamed. Mom fussing over boutonnieres. But betrayal's shadow lengthened. A week before. Anonymous email to Matt's work. Screenshots of our indiscretions. Jake's handiwork. Caption. Foreman Ferry? Fire him. Whispers spread on site. Tools dropped with smirks. Overtime drying up. Matt came home hollow-eyed. They're sidelining me. Say it's team fit. Rage boiled. But hurt underlay. Is this what we run to? More hiding. He paced. Fists balled. Fuck that. I'll quit. Start my own crew. Noble. But naive bills piled. My gig spotty in the move. We fought ugly that night. Words whips. Me accusing escape patterns. Him lashing at my city snobbery. Door slammed. He stormed to the bar. I curled on the couch. Sobbed silent as sin. He returned at dawn. Reeking of regret and Rainier. Collapsing beside me. I'm sorry. Jake's winning if we let this break us. Reconciliation was raw. Apologies murmured into skin. Bodies arching in forgiveness's fire. But the hit landed. Layoff notice Friday. Severance slim. Job hunts dragged. Rejections piling like autumn leaves. Cultural fit code for queer-coded caution. Climax crested in October. Amber leaves carpeting the parks. When Dad called unprompted. Your ma and me. We're coming up. Got something to say. They arrived in the station wagon. Karen bearing pie. Jim awkward in khakis. Over coffee. He cleared his throat. Saw a therapist myself. After the heart thing. Made me think. About you, son. About love not fitting boxes. Matt's eyes welled. Mine burned. We want you happy. Both of ya. Hugs followed. Stiff but sincere. The first thaw in frozen ground. Emboldened, Matt outed himself at a crew barbecue. Beer in hand. Voice steady. Yeah, I'm gay. Nick's my fiancé. Deal or dip. Walkouts happened. But allies stepped up, 2 guys clapping his back. Offering subcontract gigs. Momentum built. A small Reno firm. Riley and Hale. Logo my design, hammer crossed with a brush. Clients trickled. Word of mouth from the wedding, now set for spring. But Jake's ghost persisted. Final strike a December eve. Snow blanketing Milwaukee like absolution. He showed at our door, bottle in hand, eyes bloodshot. Heard you're playing house. Thought I'd apologize. Matt barred the way, me behind like backup. Too late, man. You tried to bury us. Jake crumpled, spilling. I was jealous. Always wanted what you had, freedom. Punched down 'cause I couldn't punch up. Catharsis, messy and male. Ended in a nod. Not embrace, door closing on old skin. Holidays healed. Riley Hale feast. Tables groaning with pierogies and prime rib. Laughter bridging divides. As midnight tolled, Matt pulled me to the porch. Stars pricking the velvet sky. 1 year from that blizzard, he murmured. Ring warm on my finger. Best detour ever. I kissed him, slow and sure, the future unfolding like a well-worn map. Yet drama simmers, and ours peaked in the new year, flu season felling Matt. High fever delirium where he thrashed, muttering Jake's name like exorcism. I nursed him fierce, broths and brows, my hand his anchor. In the haze, he confessed deepest, scared I'll hurt you again. Ruin us. Vulnerability cracked me open. We heal together. Always. Recovery brought clarity. Proposals refined. Vows handwritten. Mine promising art in our chaos. His strength in our soft. Spring 2026 bloomed defiant. Tulips thrusting through Milwaukee's soil like our resolve. The wedding was intimate, courthouse steps under a weeping willow. Officiant a leather daddy friend from Chicago's scene. Rings simple tungsten. Engraved winter's fire. Guests sparse. My folks, beaming. His family, tentative but present. Karen dabbing eyes during vows. Reception at a Bayside brewery. Craft IPAs flowing. Toasts raw. His sister ribbing, finally off the market. My best equipping from roommate to ride or die. Who saw that plot twist? We danced to Springsteen. His hand firm at my waist. The lake a silver mirror to our joy. Honeymoon was a road trip. Route 66 echoes. From Chicago's skyline farewell to Santa Fe's Adobe warmth. Adobe motels. Starry nights in the desert. We shed skins. Him teaching me to drive stick on empty highways. Me sketching his profile against canyons red as revelation. One dusk in Taos. Under cottonwoods whispering. We made love on a blanket. Earth cool beneath. His body a landscape I knew by heart, scars and freckles. Sighs and shudders. Forever's just the start. He breathed. And I believed. Bone deep. Back home. The firm flourished. First big contract. A queer youth center Reno. Walls painted in murals I designed. Vibrant as hope. Matt thrived. Sleeves rolled. Mentoring apprentices with a gentleness he'd unearthed in us. Evenings, we'd unwind on the stoop. Fostering a rescue pup named Blitz. Part shepherd. All loyalty, fetching sticks in the yard we'd bought. Picket fenced but progressive. Rainbow flag subtle on the porch. Conflict lingered. Humanistic in its grind. Dad's health waned. Chemo for prostate shadows. Pulling Matt east for weekends. A tag along. Sketching in hospital waits. Holding Karen's hand as she fretted. One visit. Jim gripped Matt's arm. Voice frail. Proud of you, son. For choosing heart over hide. Tears fell. Generational ice melting. And in that sterile room, family redefined, not blood alone, but chosen fires. Betrayal's final echo came summer. Jake's suicide note emailed wide. Couldn't outrun myself. Sorry, Riley. Be happy. Shock rippled. Matt hollow for days. Guilt a ghost. We grieved messy. Bonfire on the beach. Letters burned to ash. His head on my shoulder as waves absolved. He was lost, Matt whispered. Like I was. Therapy unpacked it. Forgiveness not for Jake, but for the boy Matt once was, chasing straight lines in a curved world. Climax crested autumnal. Leaves a pyre underfoot. When opportunity knocked, Chicago gallery show for my novel illustrations. Invite only. Spotlight on love in the margins. Matt cleared his calendar. Tux rented. But nerves gnawed, crowd queer and critical. Our story raw in every stroke. Opening night. Gallery humming with clinks and murmurs. He stood beside me in black tie. Hand at my low back. You're a goddamn genius, he murmured, as collectors oohed over panels of us. Blizzard night stylized. Alley kisses abstracted. Then, the curve. A critic, sharp-suited, cornered us post-toast. Inspirational. Hail. But tell me, did the straight boy really bend? Or break? Venom veiled as query. But Matt stepped forward. Voice steel. We both bent. That's love. Flexible. Fierce. No breaks. The room hushed. Then applauded. The critic slinking off. Later, in a cab home, Matt laughed. Shaky. Holy shit. I said that. I kissed him fierce. My hero. Winter returned. Anniversary blizzard a nod to origins. Snow blanketing the yard. Blitz burrowed inside. We hunkered with whiskey. Fire crackling. Reminiscing. That first kiss's terror. Jake's sabotage. Dad's gruff grace. Nothing predictable, Matt toasted. Clinking glasses. But everything worth it. Bed called. Bodies familiar yet electric. His weight a welcome storm. Release a symphony of us. Years folded forward. Humanistic arc gentle. The firm expanded. Hiring out queers overlooked. My book deal. Sequels scripting our kin's tales. Kids came via surrogacy. A boy with Matt's eyes. Girl with my mischief. Home filled with chaos joyful. Bedtime stories laced with once upon a winter night. Matt coached peewee football. Inclusive drills where every kid scored. I mentored at the center. Sketches tools for coming out courage. Elder years crept. Hair silvering like first snow. But passion endured. Porch swings in twilight. Hands entwined. Blitz's successor snoring at our feet. One eve, as Aurora teased the northern sky, rare Milwaukee gift, Matt turned, eyes crinkled, best plot twist, marrying my roommate. I leaned in, kiss soft, predictable ending, happily ever, yet life, dramatic to the last, scripted a by not. Matt's heart, echo of Dad's, faltered mid-harvest fare, amid caramel apples and Ferris lights. Hospital again. Monitors beeping benediction. Family gathered his, mine, woven tight. Live true, he rasped. My hand in his, ring warm. Love you, Nick. Always. His eyes closed. Peaceful. The room holding breath then releasing in sobs. Grief was a season. Long and lacerating. Chicago winters without his heat. Sketches unfinished. But humanism bloomed in the ache. Memorial at the youth center. Walls he'd built now murals of his bear tattoo. Stories shared of the man who bent but never broke. I found solace in words. Memoir penned. Winter's turn. Pages turning pain to purpose. Readers nodding at mirrors held. Years later, gray-bearded at book signings, I'd smile at couples young and fumbling. One night changes everything. Hold on through the storm. And in quiet nights, wind whispering old howls, I'd feel him warm, wanting, whole. Nothing predictable, but profoundly ours, a gay American odyssey, from blizzard betrayal to evergreen love.